as I mentioned, I woke up to this election in Louisiana as a kind of a proxy for what is happening in the world, in this country, and I'm nervous. I'm not nervous. I'm gonna say this out loud because I know it to be true. I don't want it to be true. So me saying it, hopefully, maybe somebody will change it. But 2024 is going to be a horrible cycle for us. And I don't think it's going to end the way a lot of people believe it is.
Right.
And I think as Louisiana and Georgia and all of these states go, this is the country. And what I'm seeing more than anything is disgust and apathy. I feel like, and that's on purpose. You know, you create this atmosphere where people just don't trust anything,
Right.
and they feel like their vote doesn't matter because nothing has changed. You know, you got bad water, you still have poverty, you still like, so if you look in your community and it's like it's still bad, why should I vote for either party? So in Louisiana, I'm gonna tell you what the turnout was, for the Democrats, and they had a chance to elect a black man. Louisiana had a chance to elect, and this is a state that has a lot of black people. Next to Mississippi, Texas has the largest gathering of black folk, but Mississippi, Alabama, they have a lot of black people in Louisiana. They could have had the first black governor in Louisiana, but here was the turnout, 29%. 29% of the eligible voters, 29, not even 30%, not even 3 in 10 showed up to vote for governor. 20% showed up for lieutenant governor, for the Secretary of State, 30%, for the Attorney General, 31%, and for the Treasurer, 32%. But this to me says that they're not really feeling what's happening. And here's who they elected. Somebody named Jeff Landry, who was incompetent, is incompetent. Here's what he said about the New Orleans and the black areas that have woke district attorneys. He said he doubled down on his campaign videos where he called the district attorney in Cato and East Baton Rouge, black areas in New Orleans, these 3 parishes, crime rates. He highlighted the crime rates. The 2 black prosecutors, he took out the footage of them, you know, because they're white, but he doubled down on this black pathology, this kind of Willie Horton thing. This was his message, and he got elected. He got elected. In 2022, he assisted the Republican lawmakers in unveiling a bill, House Bill 321, that would have made public the criminal records of young people between the ages of 13 and 18. So now usually kids get, you know, you usually protect young people. Not him. And what's bad now is, Dr. Black, they got all branches, the Republicans. And when I say Republicans now, I'm not talking about Eisenhower. I'm not even talking about Nixon.
Right.
Talk a little bit about Reagan. I'm talking about open racists, people who are white nationalists.
White nationalists, absolutely.
Like, this is that party right now, right? This is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about people who are fiscally sound and want smaller government. I'm not talking about my daddy was that Republican.
Right.
Martin Luther King's daddy was that kind of Republican. This is something different. And this is something that they're using the political levers, which is what we should be doing, by the way. All people should be using the political levers to push your agenda. Their agenda wants you to not be here. Period. Right. And wants you to be diminished or serving them. Period. Like, this is what they want. And now they have a trifecta. So I'm going to play a clip. This is a former school teacher. She's been on this show. That she's from Louisiana. So I wanted to give rise to her voice because I think she captured what is happening in Louisiana as a proxy for what is happening throughout this country. And I think what's going to happen in 2024, unless we get real vigilant, it might be too late. But play Colorful Story. Amina.
So I tend to watch what happens in 3 states very closely. Louisiana, because it's my home state. Texas, because it's my current state. And Florida, because so goes Florida, so goes the South. And what happens in the South usually leads to what the GOP does at a national level. So when we see things like Louisiana reports low voter turnout, not gerrymandering, not voter suppression, but low voter turnout, it's really sad. Because sometimes people have warped memories. Remember this man, Bobby Jindal, when he was the governor of Louisiana? I was in undergrad, and he won the election. And shortly thereafter, we started to see medical facilities disappear and a rise of prison facilities in the state of Louisiana. We started to see education, healthcare, jobs, you name it, all of these sources for people to do better in the state of Louisiana get cut. That low voter turnout not only handed over the governor's office, but they now have both houses with Republican supermajority. So they have a trifecta in the state of Louisiana of GOP members being able to control the lawmaking body and the law passing body of the state. In 2016, the state was voted the worst place to raise a child. It was the worst in education. It was ranked one of the unsafest. It was the worst place to find a job. And a lot of that had to do with the repercussions of someone like a Bobby Jindal being in office. And y'all put Jeff Landry in there. This is beyond disappointing. And I'm worried.
Dr. Black, I know I don't know if that you are a political activist.
Yes,
And I
for
don't think
sure.
you need to be to kind of see the momentum of memory has been lost on
That's right.
purpose.
That's
And
right.
so, we look at the civil rights movement as like some, weak
Right.
they marched for voting rights, as if that wasn't important.
Right.
What are your thoughts on where we are right now?
I think two things, Karen. One of those, and I'm extremely concerned about this. I'm unbelievably concerned about it, especially as we have a presidential election coming that could literally be the undoing of Black people in this country if we're not very careful. Especially because the right has swung now so far right. But the first thing that I think is extremely important that people really need to examine is, I would venture to say, I would be so bold as to say, probably 60 or 70% of Black people in America, certainly the youth that I hear all on campus all the time, feel as if they are always voting for the worst of two evils, and they hate that. They feel like it's never a candidate I want. It's never a candidate I like. It's never a candidate I think is representing me either way. Right. And of course, I'm always saying, well, listen, just vote your interest. Well, none of this is my interest. Well, vote the lesser of two evils. How long will we do that? Right. And I get it. I understand. I get it. But the point we're not really thinking about, I think, is, and you alluded to it a moment ago, and that is, America really doesn't want Black folks to vote. Because if you get empowered through the vote, if we actually discover the power of our voice through the vote, what will happen is addiction culture will be destroyed. And addiction culture is really at the base of the American economy. We need Black people addicted in order for the American economy to prosper. Addicted, see, it's a deep thing, but people are addicted to physical things when they believe that they have no access to invisible things. And things like the power of the vote, the power of the voice, all of these are invisible things. It's not immediately tangible, right? But because folks cannot see that, who are doing survival from day to day, they take refuge in immediacy: drugs, alcohol, sex, shopping in the malls. I mean, it's really funny that poor people can have 17 pairs of sneakers because it's addiction culture. It's an addiction mentality. It's a pathology. But that pathology actually benefits American culture.
Oof. I remember, I used to cover sports when I first started my career, and I was, high school sports, and I was in this tenement building, this tiny apartment that this athlete shared with their mama, and their entire room was lined floor to ceiling with Nike boxes.
Isn't that something? I've seen it.
In my good working self, I might have had one pair of Nikes. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
This child, with no real job,
Absolutely.
Floor to ceiling
Floor to
across
ceiling.
the room.
Absolutely. In fact, when Beyonce was on tour, I was here in Atlanta, and Beyonce did 4 or 5 shows in Atlanta, right? 50,000, 175,000 at each show. I kept wondering, how in the hell does somebody who makes $24,000 pay for $1,000 ticket? And I make halfway decent money, halfway, right? And I was like, I might be able to give Beyonce 300, and folks are like, oh, you're not going. These were the poor kids. I said, how are you going? How are you going? It's called addiction culture. It's a pathology, and that is anything that will give me an immediate high. But it's not just drugs. It's not just drugs. It's any experience that will give me an immediate high. I will give everything I have for it. The problem, though, is that I'm going to have another one next week. That's the difference between happiness and joy. Folks keep trying to invest in happiness, hoping that it will transmute into joy. It will not. It will not. But this is the issue with voting. The problem with voting is that people can't figure out how to get joy out of it, because seemingly my candidate is not running.
Right.
It's an issue of access to invisibility.
So how do we're going to have to deal. I'm at a loss. I have to admit, I had a strategy for Trump, and then people, were mad at me for it. But I was like, it's just strategy. It's okay. It's all right. I'm not asking you to, cut off your ear. I'm saying the strategy, like let's be strategic.
Right.
And now it's like, okay, let's be strategic. No, that ship we had an opportunity. There's like a limited window, like George Floyd. That's somewhere I was like, that's a window that will close at some point, because it's not addressing the problem. It's a salve, right? That's going to go away. The disease or whatever will come back, because you haven't dealt with the core reason why George Floyd was killed.
That's right.
So corporations going to throw money at it because they want the pressure to go down, because they realize people are angry. So they want you, just like on the plantation during the holiday season, alcohol. If you didn't drink, Booker T. Washington writes about it. If you weren't drunk,
that's right.
You could get beaten. You were punished for not participating in the thing that was going to keep you.
That's right.
In a place to be controlled.
That's right. And the problem here is, let me tell you what's interesting, Karen. Isn't it interesting that voting is completely fundamental to this thing called American democracy? But we don't teach voting in public schools. How interesting is that?
We kind of do, because we run for city council. Our city council, student body president or student body,
Here's what I mean by teaching. If we teach it, what this means is every student in the school must be required to vote.
Aha, okay.
You must practice the voting act. Whether you like it or not, you agree or not, you must vote. See, it's always presented as an option, right? And it's always presented as an we make children do what grown people do out in the streets. We're voting the most popular kid. See, it's the same thing. Now, well, if you're not popular, then you can't be the student government president. See, it's the same structure. It's the same structures.
Yes. Yeah. So we're conditioning you to make it a popularity contest.
That's right.
As opposed to what it should be, your civic duty to put responsible people in, because they're making laws. Right now, we got Congress. We don't even have a House of Representatives.
Can't even make no laws.
Because they so busy being horrible that they can't even figure out. 6 of y'all can't come and vote for Hakeem Jeffries and make a deal with the Democrats. 6 of y'all, that's all is needed. 6 people with a conscience, with a mind to say, let's put this government back together, and let me not vote for these open racists. Let me make a deal, because I'm sent to Washington for the entire country, not just these group of white people that sent me here, because that's really what we're looking at with the Republicans.
That's right.
And some misguided black folk who want to be like Tim Scott and others. 866-801-8255.
I run my fingers through her hair as she smiles and says that she loves me. Isn't it lovely when the one who loves things is the one